Today's podcasts, we have the guy that Brian wished he's met 6 years ago and made a podcast with, Wade. Fantastic to have you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Word Concept in the building.
That's right.
What a second name.
How does it feel to be at the table now? You know, I remember the first video I seen. You were critiquing things that we'd said and all that. And now you're here. It's great. I love it.
They ambushed me. I know what I'm about to get into now. They're like, oh, you critiqued us.
You're taking fucking notes on
Yeah.
Right? No, it's awesome, man. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. We had a blast last night, right?
Oh, my God. What an event. What a time, man.
Mate.
Question, when did child protection laws come into this sort of thing for what those fights happened? Like, because there were just two... Swarms, how old Swarms? Like,
He's a grown man.
He's a grown man.
Swarms is grown.
Yeah. But the other guy...
He didn't fight like a grown man, but he tried. I'll give him that.
He tried his best.
It was those punches that really...
What about the spins, though? You got to rate the spins.
Yeah.
He was some NBA-level spinning going on.
Bro, that guy was going to the rim. Would you think... I rated that he lost so much weight, but I also thought you can't learn boxing and lose that weight at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you can't learn boxing in 2 weeks.
There was no
I think that looking back at it, and as I said on commentary, it was... When I heard this fight was announced, I was very skeptical. The words I heard was he would beat Alex Wasabi. I think we can all categorically say right now he couldn't beat an egg. Right now. No, and to be fair to...
2 weeks.
I want to say this. If JJ was the one with 2 weeks' notice, and this guy, Swarms, had 4 years, or whatever JJ's had, the result would be the same, but it's flipped. You know what I mean? This is what happens when you get a guy with loads of experience, a guy with no experience. And that's not what boxing is about.
Also, by the way, it goes the other way as well. So you're talking about his past. I think it goes into the future that you can flip it. He has no ambition to be in this either. So there is not really the same hunger and fight that his opponent's going to have. No, bro, let's just call it how it is. This guy's never stepping in a ring again. He's never had another experience like this.
I hope he does, though. Can I just say? Because...
I agree.
It'll never be that bad again.
Right.
He's had a baptism of fire with 40,000 people there for your first ever fight, and you're in there with a guy who knows exactly what he's doing. But he can talk the talk and sell a fight.
Promote.
So I do think there's potential there, but the problem is my first thought was, okay, we got Fuzi.
Yeah.
We got FaZe Temper, who didn't have an opponent at that point. We had Slim. We had Sol Papi. I was like, why wasn't one of these guys chosen instead for the main event? And now when you see the great performances by a lot of these fighters, you know that the test that we wanted for JJ,
it was there,
which wasn't an acid test, which wasn't a Jake Paul and fast track and all of this, or a Tommy Fury, but a reasonable test to gauge where JJ is. The problem is we're 24 hours on now. We have no clue how good JJ is.
It's really hard to tell. It's really hard to tell from the last 3 years to now what the improvements are.
But there's no path of resistance. Nothing. It's a hot knife through butter every time.
But having said that, did we learn anything about what did we actually see him do in the ring? Because to me, it's
hard to look good, unfortunately, and that's the problem. That's
another thing.
Did he look good? Like, yeah, kind of, but it's hard to look good when the other guy's running away from
the entirety.
It's hard to catch him. It's hard to, you're trying to pin a mouse down in the, as a cat here. It's. When the other guy's throwing at you, you're actually more likely to land and to show what you know, as Sol Papi did.
If you engage.
Yeah,
the problem with KS, I mean, one thing we did learn, he's in freakish shape. We knew this kind of, but to have 2 fights one night, to be able to cool down your motor, right, to bring that adrenaline rush all the way back down, lose all that momentum, get back in the locker room, have to rest, and then build it right back up again, that's tough to do. And I know it's not...
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Do you actually think he was... Do you think there was any trepidation from JJ? Because you guys have both been around him. I didn't see the same fear or fighting face that we saw in the past from KSI.
No, this was a walk in the park.
And that's not a critique from me.
No.
But I think when you want to become an athlete, or
I think
you get analysed like that.
Lars, when you say not trepidation but frustration,
right?
There was a moment where he was like, I can't quite get my hands on this guy.
It wasn't all there. He didn't put it together the way he wanted to, and I know
he's used to sparring with people who are trading.
And I know that's not necessarily his fault, because dudes were doing 360s in the middle of the ring, and Pineda's taking a knee and then popping up, and there's a lot of stuff going on. Then KSI just wants to get it done. Let's just get it banged on. Let's go forward. But what I will say was, when the first time I interviewed him at the first part of the night, he was ready to go, switched on, and the second same thing. But I don't think it was ever going to be KSI feeling trepidation versus the opponent. It was just him versus himself, right? It was him being able to handle that moment, handle all the expectation, all of the build to this thing, and then go out and put on that performance for however many, 20,000, 30, 40,000 people.
So for me, this felt more about a soft launch for a boxing company or a boxing series of things that are going to happen. And I get it.
A very soft launch.
The thing is, I actually think there are a lot of pluses on the night, right? Like I was in there for a little while. Sure, I didn't have a seat, but I was in there for a little while.
Can we
it was
do
incredible.
this? Can we? Because Logan and his team just came in here, and I was saying like,
just missed him.
Right. We were having a similar conversation, with similar problem that each other had on the night, which was like, I'm like, okay, I'm presenting, I'm commentating. I asked for 10 tickets for my friends, the kickoff boys, all of that.
Yeah.
One of them travelled for 2 hours to get there. So you're like, these fucking tickets better be there, by the way, because I've told my friends. Like, and I'm thinking, I'm a big part of the show. Not that I'm the big name or anything like that, and I'm not acting like I'm a diva, but the least I would expect, because I didn't do this for money, I did it for the experience, the fun, the enjoyment, same as I always have. No tickets. Loz was fucked over, didn't have a proper ticket. He was treated like shit by security.
It's such a Lawrence McKenna story, though.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Story.
So what happened?
Well, so we have our little crew, and Gio and his girlfriend turn up a little bit earlier.
So we had the behind the camera crew and the lads.
Yeah, Brian was looking after everyone. This wasn't just a brand deal. So they turned up there. They turned up a little bit earlier than us. Took 3 tickets, easy. Just go over to the side bit. Great. We were like, okay, awesome. So we get there. There's about 3 different places giving out tickets. Big long line of people.
Yeah.
There's clearly an influencer area. Theo Baker couldn't get his tickets either, and nor could Reeve and those kind of guys.
Bear in mind, Theo Baker, like, he's one of the originals.
The reason.
Yeah, so he deserves to be there.
So he's an originator.
Yeah.
So anyway, Brian's name. No, maybe it's under True Geordie. Maybe it's Lawrence McKenna. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Every time...
Maybe it's under Real Geordie, as Todd kept calling it.
Right.
I told him at one point.
I was sitting ringside, I heard you.
Yeah. And so we get no tickets. So in the end, the woman goes, look, the reality is I've already given you tickets to someone else. Your ticket, these are your numbers. I'll write down these numbers. I'm just going to give you any ticket. You go scan it, walk in, go into the middle, find it ringside, and you guys can check, right? So I try and go ringside, can't go ringside. The guy goes, with all due respect, there are a lot of YouTubers here tonight. You could be anyone. I was like, this is a great night.
You could be anyone.
Getting the Normo
special treatment.
No, by the way.
Normal guy.
The funniest part of that is the guy says that to me and then someone goes, Lawrence, can I get a picture, please? And I was like, yeah, of course, bro, of course. And I just look at the guy like, of course, this is what normal people do every day. Right? We just take pictures of the randoms. Yeah. So then we get down ringside. There's a guy sitting in the seats, right? And the security calls him out and they go, what's going on here? And he goes, listen, man, I paid $20,000 for these tickets to be in these seats. And then he goes...
Anthony Joshua's ringside tickets don't even cost that. He's talking shit.
Yeah. So literally he goes, and my grandma's here. So I was like, what?
Bring your granny.
So I look at
She's a huge KSI fan.
She's a 6-year-old woman sitting there and I literally look at the security and I go... I'm not moving that woman. I'm not fucking moving her.
Yeah.
And I just went, I give up. And the guy was like, oh, we'll see what we can do. No one did anything. Like it was just a complete waste of time. So
and Logan, so I thought that this would have been like maybe it's a me thing, maybe they didn't care about me. Logan was like, nah, same shit happened to us, bro.
What?
Same shit.
Yeah, because they didn't get in until later on.
They basically allowed Logan and a couple of his guys in because he's Logan and everyone knows who he is. But even they were fucked over. So in terms of organising and looking after people, definitely, like, I give an example. It was like 6 o'clock and I was in my pants and I get a message saying like, yeah, I think you're wanted downstairs. I'm like, I don't know, am I? So I definitely think that there's
improvements for sure.
However, I do want to say, not all negative, the production in terms of the way the show looked was immaculate. The sound, the level of quality throughout was. I mean, the entrances, it was all amazing. And to see that we've come from the Copper Box and I mean the walkie-talkie times, it's improved a lot. So it's not all. I think DAZN are a great place for this to happen, and it is the first one,
right?
But like. I heard there was an after party on. I'm like, oh right, great. So let's get Oh, right. Not for me then, because I'm only presenting the show then.
But having said that, the sound was great.
The sound was
good.
And I'll say this: when I was like, this is my first one, right? And so for me, I'm just, where do you need me? I'll do whatever I need to do.
You did a great job.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No.
I really wanted. By the way, I really wanted you on commentary as the play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
Nothing against Todd, because Todd was great, and actually
Todd was a man.
Having experienced head there was great, but. I made no, I mean, you were there in the production meeting. I said, I want me and Wade commentating. Not in a nasty way. And then, like, on the morning of, it's like, oh, by the way, Chris Eubanks working with you guys as well.
Yeah.
Nothing against Chris as well, but I was like...
Chris Eubank Jr. or Chris?
Junior.
Oh, it's a shame.
Yeah.
I thought we had a legend in the building for a minute.
I actually said to Chris when I met him, all right, Chris, I went... interviewed your dad once. I went, asked him a lot of boxing questions, just talked about Sunday school for 2 hours. And like, he didn't know, I could say he didn't know how to take me. Yeah. But over the night, he warmed up to me.
Yeah.
We had a bit of a laugh, to be fair. But yeah, it was just a bit, I thought because it was with DAZN, we'd be a bit more fleshed out, planned out. I didn't think things would be as last minute at times as they were. However, hopefully, it came off all right, you know what I mean?
What I really liked about it is what JJ also attached to it in the press conference you did, though, because those kind of things can be a little bit flat sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like, where you've got to ask these corporate questions and go...
In the top corner.
Yeah.
That was top left corner.
As the moderator always is. Top as far away from everyone as possible.
Next to Deji.
I was giving it, it's a good thing I have a long neck, because I was
right. You crane that around.
Yeah, right. I was good.
So you nailed that, by the way.
But with that, you I think JJ did deliver a good message that it is about the people who are taking part. And very often I think people can forget that, behind the scenes. It can be a bit like, let's cream off as much as we can here. Let's just like get any event out there. Doesn't matter if the people get paid. This is kind of the start of something. I think it is good. Yeah. Broadly, it's good.
I'll be honest, if every experience was like that, I don't know how many of them I would want to do, because... there was a moment in the night where I was like, I think this is my last one.
Please do it again, though. You will do it again.
I love the fights. Me ringside talking about the fight.
That's what it's about.
That's my happy place.
That's what it's about.
Right?
Yeah.
But it was the other stuff around. I was like,
in the hotel in your pants.
In the pants, yeah. The hotel
in the pants.
Yeah. I think you should do it again, because I think once you do it a couple more times, I think you get a taste for it and you'll sort of...
I do love it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it loves me, though. I had a lot of backlash on social media.
What kind of thing? What are we talking about here?
Well, they can all suck my nuts, but...
Who's this guy in that suit?
It was just like, Geordie knows nothing, yada, yada. I'm like, you do know, like... I was going to say... I break proper boxing down.
I think people, like... I'll take this word, because people look at me as like some savant in boxing and mixed martial arts. But guys,
big yourself up, sure.
Yeah, I know, that's what I do.
That's fun.
He has been doing this and doing it more accurately than sometimes I or anyone else does. Even I remember back to the Conor and Dustin talks where was it the UFC or BT Sport brought you on?
Yeah,
and
with Dan Hardy and Darren Till.
He was spot on with everything he said, and the guys that are in the room that are supposed to be paid to do this, and nothing against them, weren't. And he had it from 5-6 months beforehand, and he saw it before anyone else did, and he saw it many times before anyone else.
And I have a look and I have a way about me that sort of rubs people up the wrong way sometimes, not necessarily a lovely way about me.
But do you know what I think it is? And I get it. Like, I actually think a lot of these events, and this is a problem in most influencer stuff at the moment, they want it to go off without a hitch. So they want these kind of engineered moments of, they call it false jeopardy, right? But they want these engineered moments of JJ's coming to the ring, something's going to happen here. And the same happens with UFC and anything else, where those people have got too much investment in the influencer. So they can't say what's really going on. Yeah. But it makes it plain and boring. So you need someone in the room, the catfish, to keep nipping away at people do that.
That was the one thing I felt when we had the production meetings, was I was like, ultimately, and this is no disrespect to anyone in those meetings, because they're all professionals and doing professional boxing.
Absolutely.
But what I thought was, like, creatively, I'd love to have more of an input in, because it's so, like, to take the weigh-in show, for example. There's this camera. It's fucking all over.
Boom cam.
I'm like, mate, just get us in shot.
It was a Michael Bay
film. Like it was a little frustrating. Like there's this kooky, well, that'll be wacky because this is what all the kids are doing, And when you realize the age difference between the people on camera and the people behind camera, DAZN like to put themselves across as a bit of a forward-thinking show. Game change, as Eddie Hearn said.
Right.
And when you actually look at the behind the scenes, that's where you realize, well, if you want to change the game, you need to bring in some young, fresh, new ideas.
Yeah.
And I think that would do them the world of good, not just for the influencer boxing events, but all of their stuff, because they do seem to want to move in that direction.
Well, I mean, look at me.
But is it a tagline?
Not me.
Where reality is you're still using the old white guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
don't put yourself down like that.
No offense. No offense. But no, I'm giving them credit, but I'm also saying what I think could be done better. Yeah. And ultimately,
that's what it's going to take to move forward.
Sky could never do this. Sky are so set in their ways.
Yeah.
Sky are so behind the times. So I've got to give DAZN credit as the forward-thinking brand. But I'm just like, but keep going in that direction.
Right, keep pushing it.
Yeah. And I think hopefully they'll learn a lot from this one.
Yeah, no, like I said, it was my first one. Everyone that I worked with and the people that helped us behind the scenes.
Can we just say on the day of, we thought Wade was doing the in-ring interviews.
Yeah.
And then the day of, it was like, actually, no, you're not. You're just backstage all night. And I was so disappointed for you.
Yeah.
Because, I wanted you to either be commentating or in the ring. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like, that's not where Wade belongs. Do you know what I mean?
But who did end up commentating and then doing the in-ring?
It was me. But and I'm privileged to do that.
Man,
I'm not gonna. No, but I'm not complaining. But
gutted for you, mate. Gutted. Who would be doing those? Because I am going to need to. I think I've done that before, so I do.
Hey, I had Wade's back in the meeting.
He did.
Yeah, right,
he knows that.
Yeah. Brian came in and laid the law down. But no, everybody that I worked with, I was so grateful for. I'm not going to name their names. They know who they are, but. I took it as a learning experience for myself, and I just try to soak up everything because, we work in the content side, and that side we know very well, right? To the point where we can out-talk and really just put information that they just don't know out on people. But on the professional side and on the side that I really want to delve into more, I'm just soaking up little things here and there and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. Even backstage, I don't even know if you guys got all the packages. We did pre-rec interviews with everybody. And I don't think they filmed them all or they put them out all, but I was dragging my PA around and just like, hey, we got to go get Fuzi, we got to go get Deji, we got to go get Kenny.
There was one pre-event interview that has gone semi-viral between Joe Weller and the manager of KSI, Mams Taylor, who all of a sudden, like,
He's
I don't know.
Star.
6 months ago, we didn't know who he is. Now he's challenging Joe Weller to get in the boxing ring with him.
No, not even that. He was challenging Joe Weller, and this is one of my favorite bits, to a street fight.
Yeah. Go out back. And
that was strange.
That whole exchange was odd.
Yeah.
It was odd.
And I thought myself, if you were my manager, would I want you threatening other? Like I thought, maybe you should just let the YouTubers do the YouTube thing. I understand you love JJ, he's your guy, everything, you business partners.
Rightly so. Yeah.
Protective.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that there's a game going on here, and your role in that game is not to get in the game.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I felt like Joe was doing what Joe should be doing. And making if anything, helping sell the
I was going to say,
really.
Joe could have been, and maybe still is, could be a player in this thing.
Yeah, I think all I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying Mams did anything crazy, but I think when he looks back at it as an older man, he'll go, I probably should have just left that.
Yeah, that one was probably a misstep.
Yeah, when Joe starts patting him on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Joe won that confrontation. I mean, I don't have any vested interest in this, so I can say it, but I think Joe won the confrontation because Joe understood the rules of the exchange. I don't think Mams fully understood.
When Mams said something like, he sort of started to threaten Joe, and that's when Joe was like, I got you.
Yeah, right. No, and that's the thing. Like, Joe's well-versed in that. And
yeah, he does beef.
He does beef. He does YouTube.
Yeah, he's good at it.
And I love Mams, and I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of Misfits, DAZN. But I think he'll look back and say that was a misstep.
Like I say, there's a lot of learning gone on.
Again,
and Mams when I had a little chat with him, he said, mate, the last 3 months, I've been learning.
I was telling him too, I was like, the fight game is mad. This is that first kind of
And to have a main event pull out on your first big event, that's a pain in the arse.
For them to keep it together, fair play to them, going and finding guys. And yes, it wasn't the level that we're looking for JJ.
Can we talk about Pineda?
Yeah.
That was so weird.
It was odd.
For a pro to get in there. And that's why when they were like talking about, oh, he's a pro boxer, I was like, no. Like, just
no.
Can we talk about the press conference before and the weigh-in? And by that, what I mean is, why did he put the sunglasses on? And also, why, a real boxer.
On him, honestly.
I get it. But it felt very much, I felt like he was ready for his high school yearbook thing, or like his graduation.
Yeah, when he had that blazer on, that was a little
big.
His dad's blazer, whatever. Mate, the whole.
Here's the thing, though.
He's obviously not a rich guy, though.
Exactly. I was going to say. Yeah. Here's the thing. He probably, again, on a very short notice. I mean, I know from behind the scenes work, they were just trying to get him to get a picture for the passport so they get him in. It was that close, right?
He didn't have a passport.
Well, he was just trying to get everything done. I think his picture, something had expired, and they were like, oh, we got to get stuff done really quickly. And so this guy, out of his element completely, and again, not in this scene at all, has no idea who KSI is, even said so. He's like, I've never heard of him, I have no idea. So he's doing his best, but it was definitely a guy that was just completely out of his scene. Like, he had no idea where he was at and what he was doing.
Did either of you get any insight into how the replacements were chosen through working with these guys?
No, I mean, listen, it's tough to know.
It feels like they put their hand in a bucket and just...
right?
No, it feels like they literally ripped the yellow pages up and then just picked the first phone number out of it. Like, that's what I'm trying to work out.
It's tough. I don't exactly know. I just know that the way that things were done, at least what it looked like for me, was, who do we know that's either one that needs an opportunity, can accept it quickly, and can give some legitimacy to it? And that was why I think Pineda was brought on, the legitimate side of it, the pro boxing side. And of course, I don't think anybody's saying this from that side, from the back end, but I think everyone knows that was a storyline power move, right? JJ gets the first pro boxer, regardless of the talent level, skill, the name, the label pro boxer before Jake does. That was the idea in my mind for them, the marketing ploy from them.
Can I ask then, when you see him in the ring and you see he is clearly not acting like a pro boxer.
That's the thing.
He was grimacing every time he got touched in any way.
Yeah. I'm not
do pro boxers hard, but like you ain't got a poker face, bro.
I mean,
definitely not.
Yeah. But that is part of it.
Don't play cards.
And that's the thing.
For it.
It worked up until the fight started. Right, as far as like, this is the pro boxer, this is this, I'm fighting a pro before Jake is.
Right.
But then you go in and if you want to break it down, skill for skill, talent for talent, Tyron Woodley eats that kid alive, right? Like,
absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't go past.
Gib does as well. But
I mean, we could go down the list of Jake opponents that would have their way with that guy. But
people on the undercard of that.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of guys on the undercard that would have had their way.
Yeah, he wasn't good, and
it's not his fault, right? Like, the guy again pulled out of his element, did what he's supposed to do, but I don't know what was going on with the taking the knee, and he was complaining a lot with shots behind the head. And JJ does swing wild sometimes, and fair play, but he was
a lot of them weren't. Most of them weren't on the back of the head. And there was points where he was getting body shot, and he was looking at the referee like, "Are you going to let him do that to me?" And I'm like, "Do you know what pro boxing is?" I thought you. There was a point where he was stopping it, and sort of the referee.
He took a body shot, and he looked at the ref, and then took a knee.
The referee was explaining to him stuff, and I was like, "Mate, this is over."
Yeah.
He's quit.
Yeah.
Like, he quit multiple times in there. And by the way, the referees were terrible.
It was a very up and down scale, because there were some very quick, like, diving in front of guys for standing eights. And then there were some were like in the main event where the referee just kept letting him take the knee and get back up and take the knee and get back up.
But similar to that then, do you know how well the referees knew each fight? Because I'd be interested to know if the referee was told in this fight, it's obviously it's King Kenny. So
there was a moment at the end where one of the referees was literally like outside filming JJ in the ring, and I was like, "Bro,
come on,
have some respect."
I know, right? And that's
supposed to be an official
dignity,
Yeah, mate. And I was like, "That's why you referee the way you did tonight."
No,
you look like a fan who just turned up,
right? And now it's the influencer boxing scene, the crossover boxing scene, right? So, some of these referees, I'm sure, are used to, reffing amateurs and maybe low-level pros, and even, maybe into the mid-tier. So they're used to seeing, let's be honest, some of the fights weren't very competitive. Like, Saul Poppy went and starched Andy Worski, starched him, right? And so as the card goes on, seeing those fights happen, maybe you want to protect the guys because you've just seen a guy get knocked out cold.
There was one moment in the night which really rubbed me up the wrong way when I look back at it, when Kenny was...
That's
really rocked.
That's the big one.
He jumped in so quick. I mean, it was like, have you ever seen Twilight where the guy jumps in and saves her from the car that's about to kill her?
Yeah.
It was like that. I was like, mate, I bet you never expected me to quote Twilight.
Absolutely.
I was going to say.
Who's going to pick him up
did
on
it
that first?
verbatim,
It's
too.
unbelievable.
You watched it last night.
It's
I think.
incredible,
Yeah.
Best one you've had
Watched
in
it
a
a
while.
couple times.
Hey, we all know why we watch Twilight, guys, okay?
Oh, Pat, that's right.
Don't judge.
Yeah.
Okay? But the point I'm making is he dived in there and saved Kenny from what could have been a knockout.
Follow-up.
Yeah, it could. He was really in trouble.
I mean, he literally stopped Sensei's right hand from landing as he was trying to follow up.
That is astounding. Like, if we were talking about a real pro fight there, which this is supposed to be, you'd be accused of match fixing at that point. It was so out of order. And that's not that I want Kenny to get hurt.
No.
But because it went to the judges...
It was a big factor. It ended up being a big factor.
That was a big factor because you give Kenny that time to recover, which in a normal fight wouldn't have happened.
Right. I know, and that's why I say, because the fight right before them, or I think so, was Saul Papi. And he had Andy wobbled and followed up with 2 more as he was going into the ground, and Andy went snoozeville, right? And I don't know this, so I can't confirm or anything like that, but maybe a referee seeing that and being like, holy fuck, these guys are not matched well at all. Right. And then the next fight, Sensei wobbles Kenny in 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And he's like, fuck, here we go again. And maybe wanted to jump in there before it got bad again. But again, I agree. You can't jump in there because now you're talking about, and this was something I didn't quite understand. And I do want to say this, Kenny, and we'll talk about this fight, but Kenny performing the way he did, it puts him in a tough spot because everyone's pointing the finger at Kenny like, oh, you robbed us, you.
It's not his
and it
fault.
happens again. It's not his fault at all. Completely not his fault.
That's why when I came back from, so I came back from the toilet, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like, good job, well done, Sensei.
Yeah.
And they were like, you don't have to do the post-fight interview. I'm like, well, I don't need to anyway because I know who's won. I'm just going to go to the toilet, come back. I see Wade's face, right? I'm like, what's wrong with you? And you're like, no way.
Yeah.
No way. He's like,
what was the reaction?
I was like, what? He's like, Sensei lost. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
My face is
I know.
We're having this moment. I'm
know.
like, I should be on commentary, but I'm in shock right now. I come back. And then they try to move on to the next fight, and I went, hold up. What have I just been told here? I was like, Kenny was great. He fought valiantly and he really dug deep. But there was just no way, in my opinion, he won that fight. Yeah. And there was 2 moments of any real danger in that fight. Both of them were Sensei swinging the hammer.
Yeah, so this is the way I saw it scored. And this is what apparently the judges told Kenny and Sensei. I think they even showed him cards. They said that when Sensei rocked Kenny early and Kenny got his standing 8, that Kenny, quote unquote, dominated the rest of the round. And I watched that fight back last night in the room. And again, Kenny's jab was so amazing.
Dominated?
Yes. So Kenny's jab was great, and it really did put Sensei in a place where he wasn't as aggressive as he wanted to be.
No, but let's be honest, though. But Kenny didn't dominate a single round in the whole fight.
Exactly.
Not one round.
So this is what I was going to say.
It was a competitive fight, but 2 rounds were more for one guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's where it's clear.
And that's what I was going to say. And I watched the rest of the first round. I think Kenny throws maybe 4 or 5 more punches, and Sensei parries three or 4 of them. And I think he got a jab to the body off, but Sensei's also coming back. And it wasn't a lot of activity after that point from Sensei or Kenny, right? It was just Kenny on the front foot and that pressure and ring control. And I think so much is given to...
Kenny took the center of the ring, but I wouldn't even call it I wouldn't call that domination in any way, shape, or form.
In that round, I wouldn't either. And that's why I was like, that's got to be a 10-8.
Absolutely.
We go to number 2, and I do think Kenny gets number 2. I think that's his round, right? And then we go to 3. And again, how he got number 2 was on his jab. He didn't throw his right hand. It was a kind of smart thing that he didn't, because Sensei, the whole game plan, we talked about this off camera, and he's probably not going to like that I said this, but his whole game plan was he had seen Tommy just never swing a left hand in the Kenny fight, and he wanted to land that big left hook. He wanted to bait in, step, boom, and throw over the top, and Kenny never gave him the opportunity because he got touched in that first round. He got rocked.
I got to give credit because I did hear the corner. I thought Daly did a very good job.
He was smart with his pressure, man.
Bringing his brother back into the right frame of mind. He was like, he knew what he needed. We've seen how family can be when the boxing game. And the advice he gave him was solid. He got his brother in the best possible place to have a chance of winning that fight.
Yeah.
However, I still don't think that happened.
No. And I was going to say, I think round 3 goes to Sensei. Again, he lands the more, damaging shots. And I think, again, I watched it last night. I was marking tallies down. I think he outlanded him in the 3rd. It was close, though. Obviously, the jab was working for Kenny. And again, I think a lot was given to ring generalship. But when we're scoring boxing,
but it was damaging, wasn't it?
I touch
from
you.
Sensei.
Exactly. I touch you, you don't touch me. Or if we're both landing, who's landing more heavy shots? Who's damaging more shots? And then 3 or 4, we're talking about ring generalship and control, right? We're talking about, and we're not giving any credence to defensive responsibility. Where Sensei, the jabs are coming, but we're parrying and slip and rolling under jabs. That also counts as well, right? Defensive ring generalship is something that also counts. But round 4, toss up, honestly. You go back, there was not a lot of activity, and then that last flurry. So I could even see, if you wanted to, Kenny 4, cool. I think it was 3-1. Maybe 2-2, but even with 2-2, the first round being 10-8, it has to go to Sensei, in my opinion. That's what I see.
I agree. It's clear as day.
But again, let's not act like if anybody else is in there with Sensei, they don't go to sleep after that right hand in the first round.
No, Kenny showed a lot in his 2 fights, and he's picked hard fights to start off with, and I respect that.
And that's the tough part with Kenny, too, is you look at a guy like Salt Papi, who is very talented. He's in there with, and no disrespect to Andy, but he's in there with a guy that shouldn't have been in there with him. You're looking at Dean the Great, who's very talented. Evil Hero was not ready for him. Kenny cannot get a fight where he can just show his skill, and that's what's the most frustrating part, is because now you can't go backward, right? You've had Sensei. Maybe you know what he could do. Now the temper fight's there. The rematch is there. That seemed like the reason he wanted to fight Sensei in the first place was to get back to temper. Fight's there now.
I got to give credit to Kenny. He's definitely improving.
Amazing fight from Kenny.
It was a very. Those are the fights that will give him the experience that when he does get clipped in future, he's like, I've been here before.
Yeah.
He won't panic next time, and it's actually going to make him into a much better fighter. Even though, in my opinion, he's lost his first 2 fights, even though it was like 1-1 or whatever.
Yeah, no.
Sensei, I think he'll kick himself because. I think he had the skills to get to finish.
He already is. We talked about it. He said, "I wish I was more active."
He kept saying before the fight, "I want a war," but unfortunately, and this is the reality, in my opinion, with all due respect, Sensei just isn't a nasty, spiteful fighter like a Jake Paul or a KSI. He hasn't got that in his heart. He's a lovely guy.
He's a great guy.
This is a man who teaches martial arts to kids. It's just not who he is.
Yeah.
So while he has possibly some of the best skills in the space, he just doesn't have the evil in him.
Yeah, listen,
to make it work.
It was also that, and I asked Sensei, I was like, we talked, I wanted to be like in his face, like, what happened, He was like, honestly, like, one of them, the things was Kenny's jab. It was like, it was really hard to get around because he couldn't see it. And that was something he kept telling me, I couldn't see it. He's like, in the Temper fight, Kenny showed his jab. It was like a little more forced to try to get out to Temper, who's a longer guy.
Yeah.
He had to deal with that this time. And he couldn't see that jab. He was afraid if he couldn't see his jab, then he couldn't see his right hand.
And I get that.
But I can level with you on that Sensei it might not, because one, he talked about it, this is probably his last one. And now knowing that he was in there for that last time, maybe some of that was there in his head to be like, okay, I've already had my score in the first round. I already got another one in the third. Let's just, let's go ahead and coast this way out.
But that war mentality wasn't there, in my opinion.
And who it was on the other side was Kenny, was trying to force that action, was trying to get it done, but it was just, you're taking on one of the better guys in the scene.
One thing I want to say, I spoke to a good friend, Adam Cattrall, who works for BT Sport, does the UFC stuff.
Yeah.
And he said that fight was the eye-opener of the night for him, where he went, okay, this is quite high level compared to what he had expected.
Yeah.
So well done to Kenny and Sensei for basically gaining that respect for us as a community to show, hey, we got some fucking really good guys here.
Kenny, whatever's next for Kenny is only, in my opinion, only up, because his stock went up. I know people were pointing the finger at me like, oh, you didn't. His stock went up, in my opinion. Like it's only up from here because he's taken 2 fights that no one else would take, and now he's the guy. I guarantee you this. He's the guy that no one will want. I guarantee that. And
I'd like to see.
You say yours, and I'll say mine. Go.
Salt Papi versus Kenny.
I was gonna say Slim.
Slim, but
because I feel like you give him a winner, right? Because even if he lost this one, you can't go backward. You can't give him Andy.
I feel like KSI's
or Temper,
fight,
maybe Temper.
KSI's next fight should be either Slim or Salt Papi. I feel like.
Why don't we talk about that one?
Do you know who I would like it to be? Slim, because Slim will talk that shit.
Yeah, let's talk about the Slim fight.
Yeah, whereas Salt Papi, I don't know if he can break. Like if Salt Papi, the thing about him, his selling point is his hands, deadly. Like I think he
I mean, he does this for a reason.
I think he might be.
Man.
I think he was the most like wow.
Oh yeah.
Last night it was like you are a problem.
Yeah.
And if he did that to Kenny, that's the point where I'm like, I don't care if you can talk shit or not at JJ.
Throw him in.
You got to be in there with
him. Throw him in.
Whereas in the meantime, I think Slim
can sell.
Slim can sell the fight, and that's what we didn't have anyone who was going to poke his finger in JJ's chest and give him something back and be like, you ain't catching up to me. You're not on my level. All that. Yeah. Slim is so good at that. That's the fight to make.
Bro, also, it's the mental dynamic of that as well. I think JJ's had Joe Weller, straight man. Logan Paul,
not gay,
definitely a straight man.
Yeah. And then he's had
hetero,
and then he's had two guys who are probably the straight guy in the relationship there between the two of them.
Yeah,
and they're always the guy. So he calls himself the Nightmare.
JJ was always the wild motherfucker,
the wild guy, the guy who was
together,
unpredictable. You didn't necessarily know where he was going to come from. He was the one who was talking shit more than the other guy, or the better shit, or the stuff that you knew was getting into people's heads. Put him up against Slim and then see who's almost like the stranger one out of these two that's willing. It's like putting him up against the Joker.
Yeah.
It's like who's more willing to go to that weird place and be like...
Slim will bring it out of him again.
And that's the point.
And also Slim is a real test. Like that knockout on Temba.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what? So if you want to talk about that fight, I was obviously watching it. There's a clip of me and Rahman Jr. I was sitting next to Hassem almost all night, which I don't know if you guys saw this, but he was trying to get at your boy Logan all night.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if he...
I think he's had a taste of the money. He's like, he
wanted to...
I think that's a mistake, though. Logan
have some words,
in fighting in him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Logan
I don't know.
in on the same journey as...
Yeah, I think they're on... I would say, Logan, go do WWE, do what you're... But that was what he was saying. But anyway... Him and I react to it. We were about to just run into the ring. We're like, because Slim with the knockout. But what I saw in that fight was, one, this is what Wally, Temper's coach, told me after the fight. He goes, we were sitting there watching Sensei, and when Sensei, he didn't get the nod, he's like, Tommy's whole body just went like flush. Like he was just completely zoned out. Like he lost interest in everything he was doing at that point in the locker room, right? And that can really happen. You see a teammate go out there and get starched, which Sensei didn't, but still, the unfortunate loss.
We've seen people like Paddy and Molly each other.
It's tough, right? It's tough.
It can lift you, but it can hurt.
And Tommy said, he's like, I'm never turning the TV on again in that room. Like, it messed with me so much. He's like, I just came out cold. I didn't feel like I was on rhythm at all. And you could see he didn't look like his timing was there at all, but that also has to do with Slim.
Mate, Slim's a complex guy.
And what Slim was doing to Tommy that a lot of guys can't do to Tommy because he's so tall was he had enough range to get inside on Tommy, right? And it was something, jab, put his head in his chest, but after the exchange, where either we were in the clinch and separating, or where Tommy was just not necessarily, his hands weren't in the right spot.
He negated the things that Tommy does well by basically kind of Klitschko, jab, get a hold of him.
Yeah.
Get my shots off.
And then the break, right? Yeah. He would stick his head in his chest, and Kenny did some of this stuff to Tommy too, but he just wasn't long enough to get to him. Yeah. And he throws the big over right hand and just clips Tommy on the chin. And then Tommy wants to have that little war inside because he won those exchanges with Kenny when he came forward, right? Kenny would throw, Tommy 2, 3, 4 after. This time, Slim would throw, Tommy comes back, Slim throwing 2, 3, 4 after, and that fourth one puts him down. Nuts.
Mate.
Nuts.
Knockout as well.
Like, all week in the lobby, I had him in the face-to-face. I did the face-to-face in the lobby, and all week, anytime their teams were around each other, Slim says, Tommy, I'm about to catch a body. Just messing with him the whole time.
And that's what we haven't we've never seen, even with Logan. Yeah. Logan was never, as Loz rightly said, Logan was never that confident.
Yeah.
Like, to a point where Slim is very good at putting that out.
Yeah. And Slim will convince you. Like, Slim started to convince me. I was like, dude, I've seen it, and I'm starting to kind of turn here not because like Temper's not confident, but because Slim is just this 2 weeks notice uber confidence coming out.
And he's finishing every
dropping
opponent.
Everyone.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like,
I said it last night. He became a superstar.
Yeah, based on what JJ showed and what Slim showed, it's so difficult to imagine who's the better guy right now because of who they were fighting against. But I wouldn't be surprised if Slim was like
it's a challenge.
But, well, in terms of betting odds, he was maybe not favourite, but highly betted on in that fight because he is just the build-up alone. I want to see the fight. I really want to see it.
Yeah. No, listen.
That's the fight.
KSI, who did KSI call out?
He said Slim. Then he went to Tommy Fury and a couple of...
That's probably...
Like he's got a...
Yeah. Oh, your boy. You know, your boy.
Oh, the human trafficker. Yeah.
Your boy.
I mean, I don't know why he basically went down a list of names.
I like that though. He had a bit of a shopping list.
Yeah.
You know who else he said was kind of shocking? Your boy Gibb, or the winner of.
Well, he said
Gibb.
the winner, and that was like, you know what though?
Interesting.
You know what? I know they've sparred. There's love there.
A couple of times, yeah.
But this.
Well, I want to leave that to you because I don't know as well. Like, is that something that's even realistic?
Here's the thing with Gibb.
Yeah.
To me, I don't think he should let friendship stand in the way of what he's capable of.
Right.
And if that is,
it's a tough line.
if JJ said, "Look, I want the winner next,"
Yeah.
To me, if you're Gibb, how much money you're going to make out of that, and it's also that storyline is the only storyline that maybe surpasses Slim.
Right.
Where it's like friends become
and that's part of it is all the, like, I think there's a slight stagnation in the storylines at the moment between people. You almost need to switch it up a little bit at the top level. I know there have been friends that have fought before, like it was on one of the early cards that we did. There were like people who knew each other relatively well, but it's much better if you've got these two guys who are more like brothers almost.
And this, like you said, the storyline, the back history of it. And if it's
Austin McBroom, easy money. Because like I said, they asked me at the end of the show, who would you like to see? I said Austin McBroom at the time because he's such a bastard, like, you know, the scamming people, all of that. He is such a perfect bad guy.
Right.
And I think JJ would hate him.
Yeah.
He would actively really dislike him. And that's where it would boil.
But that's where, and I get that. I've seen that. Or I've seen elements of that. And that's what makes me more curious to see Slim or Gibb or someone else.
The other side of
just to switch it up. Also because, you know, again, with this influencer thing, they tend to want to keep the influencers, especially at the very top level, in their comfort zone. Let's just get the bag. Let's just make sure this goes. Let's put people, you know, if we're talking about being athletics here, we're talking about something where...
Let's put some competition.
Yeah, like let's do some experimentation with this. Don't make this just about... And I get last night was very much an influencer event, the kind of people who were in the room.
But they were handing belts out, Loz, and that means that there's a division.
There has to be.
That there's rankings, and that means that there's moments where, you know, people are going to have to just fight each other. If you want it to be legit and you want to turn this into something that's respectable, maybe
competitive hierarchy. That's what you need. If you're going to have belts, competitive hierarchy, right?
I do wonder though if that. I wonder how well influencers deal with that, or how well the people in this space deal with being ranked like that. Because it's all well and good.
I already know that some of them will watch that show back and be slightly pissed at me for what I said. And unfortunately, that's they have to understand that, like, I'm part of the show.
I was gonna say,
I'm not. This ain't personal.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about your character generally as if you're a bad person.
Right.
I'm literally judging about your preparation and execution. It's not personal.
The old rule
it's
is
hard to do that because as a man, men with ego,
you're gonna take a lot personally.
We're like, we judge ourselves on how we do a few things in life, and fighting tends to be one of them. And if someone says that wasn't very good, I get it. But unfortunately, if they want me, they're going to get me being honest.
But that's personally, I feel like that adds to it. I feel like it adds to the narrative, it adds to the story. I think that there are a few things that you need to acknowledge in the influencer space that are not actually conducive to good boxing. First of all, in the influencer space, you own your own channel. No one else really tells you what to do with it, really, right? So you can pretty much write your own narrative. Your audience pretty much believe whatever it is that you say. You know what I mean? Yeah. You say, hey, this is how the fight went, and you know, we see this. You know, KSI's audience, say KSI's review after we do this podcast is, actually, I fought two legit guys, and maybe it will be, and fine. And he goes, I fought two legit guys, I proved myself on the night, and anyone who says otherwise, fuck them. You'll see people watch this podcast and go, nah, fuck you, you're a KSI hater, blah, blah, blah. That gets in the way of it being a good boxing space, first of all. Secondly, you've then got, they're not really used to being in real competition. Very often you just exist in your own bubble online. Boxers can't exist in their own bubble, really. They have to dip into each other's worlds. Doesn't work like that in boxing either, right?
Well, you have fight camps, and sometimes in MMA we've seen teammates fight, but it is rare.
But you know what I mean? Very rarely do you, like, you know, the last time we saw it was like whatever it was versus PewDiePie, and those guys were racing and those things. What I mean is actual competition. Because you can also look at KSI and go, and like, you know, I'm sure there are plenty of influencers out there that go, well, if I'd have had that start, I'd be on 20 million subs, but I'm on 4 million, so I'm doing just as well. Like, you can justify all these things. boxing is literally just about, did you outbox that guy or not?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of, it makes it a bit messier almost, because very rarely do you see that in the influencer space. Influencer put face to face, head to head. You know, the only other place it really happens is in the fucking makeup game where those guys
or gaming.
Yeah, where they want to rip each other's heads off. Yeah. But gaming, you can kind of go, the game was fixed.
Or the LA podcast scene.
Sure.
Oh,
I mean, that's nasty bitches.
Cutthroat.
The nasty of all of them is definitely the makeup one. But I feel like boxing will come a close second.
The makeup one,
we need to get some makeup influencers in the boxing. That's
Absolutely.
Double competition.
I want James Charles versus that
the other one.
Jeffrey
Star.
My God.
That's what I want.
Yes.
Get pink gloves on.
Ooh,
Yeah.
now we're talking.
Hey,
Right.
Yeah.
big money in that.
Hey, no.
Huge money in that.
Hey,
you call it the battle of the palates.
Just have a bunch of screaming
have a bunch of
queens in
sisters
the
in
crowd.
You call it malice on the palates.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Nice work.
And out of that, then, we basically get JJ
I want a full
pounding
face of
the
makeup
shit.
at the start of the fight, and whoever's makeup's the worst
spear,
afterwards is the loser.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
That
the
is.
stipulation.
Yeah. And then after that, just...
Misfits, make it happen.
That's kind of, if you want to be misfits.
That's a misfit.
That's a misfit.
No shot.
So, by the way, if you do end up doing that, we need 10% of whatever happens.
Yeah, that has to go
Yeah,
there.
at least 10%.
But no, I think it is.
I want the lot.
I think that the competition and us having to, I don't even want to say remain unbiased, but it's the Joe Rogan rule, right? It's you say what you see, and that is literally it, right? You can't sugarcoat
how many
these
times
things.
over the years did Rampage Jackson and other fighters get the huff with him?
I know.
Because
And that's the game, though, right?
He critiqued them. And what I'm saying is, look, any of them out there who are upset at what I've said, you got to deal with it because you're getting in the ring, and if it's not me saying it, it'll be somebody else saying it.
At the end of the day, and this is the fighter mentality, right? Like you said, you're going to take it personally, and it's one of those things like what a dad would say to a kid: listen to what I say, not how I say it, type of thing. Like,
and also prove me wrong. Then, if you think I'm wrong,
right.
The next guy you fight, show me that
and you don't have to.
I'm wrong.
Principal Skinner it.
And I was gonna say you don't have to agree with everything that you or I or anyone says, right? It's just we are doing the job that we have to do to make sure that this thing remains legitimate, at least in some fashion.
We were
right?
trying. We were trying.
Can I ask you this then?
Oh, by the way, they wrote a little article about something I said about the 2-in-1 night thing.
Oh,
in the Mirror.
Yeah.
What did you
Jordy
say?
makes crude comment.
Oh, no.
JJ 2-in-1 night.
Makes crude.
There was also an
I
article
was
below
like,
that
is
said
this what you went to
water spray.
journalism school for, you prick?
Oh, no.
Honestly. Do you know what I mean?
Brian-
This ain't a pro boxing night. You know what I mean?
right,
I'm
right.
going to make jokes. That's part of it.
Yeah.
People are working on the showbiz desk. It's 1 a.m. and they're literally watching back through and they're like, did he say something that might be vaguely sexual there? I think we can make an article out of it.
no, bro.
It's weird though.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we talk about
Fights.
the fights? Why don't we talk about KSI? We haven't really talked about it, like what he looked like in there. We've talked about Pineda. We talked about Swarms, but it's been 3 years, right? I'm conducting this now interview. Yeah, go ahead. So it's been 3 years, right? Mm-hmm. First impressions as he's now back. What do you think?
As an athlete, I was very impressed. I thought you looked extremely fit, strong.
Push-ups, clapping push-ups.
But this is the point.
Okay.
Next fight, I don't want to say no clapping push-ups.
Better not have that kind of energy.
Yeah, because if you have, the other guy's not what
it's not
we want.
level.
Yeah. Some very good body shots.
He can crack to the body.
I literally was looking through the ropes and I just seen that Pineda
squinting.
Like he was not enjoying that.
Right.
I think his hooks look good, but I thought his shot selection, and this is literally the day after, right? I haven't watched it back.
Yeah.
I remember thinking your shot selection, you could be setting these up better.
Yeah.
Like what Sol Papi did. He really set that moment up so easily, so quickly. I think he made hard work of it because not because he couldn't get them out there quick enough. He just didn't pick his spots adequately. And my main thing is, if someone is running away,
it's tough. Man.
You want to close the distance, but get your jab going.
Yeah.
Set things up behind the jab.
Yeah.
And I felt like he was just in kill mode. And any boxer, and even Vidal Riley in one of his first fights back after that long layoff, once he had him hurt, Vidal tensed up and was really trying to get him out of there. JJ did a similar thing.
Yeah.
So this isn't something that high-level pros don't do. He did a similar thing.
Yeah.
So all I'm thinking is, it's good that he's got the cobwebs off, but next time, he has to think more.
Yeah.
I think it was a little too emotional in there, and not enough playing boxing. Play your game.
Right. There was a it's like an old saying, you want to walk the dog around that ring, right? You want to be able to lead guys where you want them to go, and that is off your jab, right? And you said shot selection is something I really I thought as well, like multiple times, especially in the Pineda fight. I think he fell in love with the overhand right a lot, right? He fell in love with that big shot that he lands on everyone. And it's a cracker, right?
That's his shot.
He can land it, but
when you want to
see
when you're telegraphing it, and
I was going to say,
it makes the ability to hurt the guy so much less, because he's like, well, I know what's coming. Every
40,000 people knew it.
Every time. That's why Salt Papi's was so good, because the guy didn't see it coming, because he moved him and then came with the other hand.
There's being able to frame someone, and like I said, just push them where you want them to be. And also too, with KSI, and like you talked about, with guys being such novice guys in there, it's almost harder to get the leash on them, to walk them around, right? Because they're not moving like a normal boxer.
They're not coming towards you.
No.
That most knockouts happen because the guys walk onto it. Yeah.
Or because you've seen a familiar tendency, or you've seen an ability for yourself to go, I can capitalize on this.
Even the Swams, the finish of the Swams fight, Swams is actually running away.
When he's doing spins and running corner to corner.
When the final punch lands, I mean, he's moving away. He didn't even catch Swams flush there.
No.
And the referee was just like, nah, fuck this.
Yeah. I don't know if KSI caught, to the body, he had some really nice shots. I don't know if he caught Pineda or Swarms with that flush right hand.
No, he didn't.
The entirety of the night.
The fact that he didn't, I think, says work to be done.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, we were going to compare this to Jake Paul, because he's made this all about Jake Paul.
Yeah.
And I think this is, if I was to say what kind of fight is this like, maybe it's a bit disrespectful to Ben Askren, but in terms of Ben Askren's hands, they're not good. But the difference was Ben came forward, which enabled Jake to annihilate him.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys just had no interest in doing that. And I think it is so hard to judge JJ, but I think if brutally honest, I expected a little better, but I think had he had a better opponent, we would have seen better.
I think it's fair.
Can I ask you a question? What do you think JJ's thinking today post-fight? Because we've all had that moment in our life where, in your mind, it goes a certain way, and the adulation comes your way, and it's like, oh yeah, this is going to be really good. And then you do it, and it doesn't quite work out, or the human reaction in the room, or the fight just doesn't go. How do you think he's feeling about that?
I feel like, honestly, I feel like that today, even just for myself, not because I was like, I didn't do. It's just one of those things where you have that post-fight pullback to reality, where you're like, did I do everything I wanted to do? Was I as good as I could have been on that night? I have that every time I've done something, Creator Clash included, when I was like, did I really go out and smash it? And I think there's going to be a little bit of that.
There's a little bit of that, especially with, I guess when you're building up a fight, you're never going to go, well, obviously this guy's going to run away from me. No. I'm going to chase him around the ring. But therefore there becomes this psychological side where he's built it up. And then do you think he feels a little anticlimaxed in a way?
I don't even know if it's because of, his quote unquote performance, but I think just because of the moment itself, right?
Yeah.
You build for so long.
He was building for Wasabi.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That alone makes it slightly anticlimactic for him, I guess. But I wonder what the people around him are saying. Because that can have a massive influence. And of some of the things I was hearing, I remember seeing Bazinga. Say he beforehand, I seen a little clip of him going, I expect them to wash these guys, no problem. So the fact that people in his immediate circle were saying similar things to me means, okay, the expectations were roughly the same in his friendship group as what I had.
Right.
So hopefully, people are just, always honest with him. But it's his boxing coach that I think is most important. And
has to be. It'll be interesting to see what, it's obvious. Everybody knows Alexis over at Shoot Fighters. He's been in the game for a long time now. Trains a lot of MMA guys, trains a lot of Muay Thai guys, and some boxers, right? Let's not forget he did train Derek Chisora for the Usyk fight. It was with David.
He was there last night,
Yeah.
Terrifying, man.
Oh my gosh. I thought, as soon as he walked by, I was like, no one give this man a table. It's going in the air if you give him a table.
He said to me, you look like Tyson Fury. I went, I ain't.
You're like, hey, listen, I don't.
Mate, don't get me confused right now, because I know what you want to do with Tyson Fury. Let's just leave that.
Yeah, forget that. I'll be Tyson Furry right now.
I'm like, how do you make that weight? Because I weigh so much more than Chisora.
No. And also, David Haye, he had him for a long time. So he's well-versed. And I'm sure, like you said, he's honest with KSI. And I think the thing that they'll take away from this is they can be proud of the work they put in to get to this point, just like anybody else that's been off for years, right? when you have that work to get to that point, okay, maybe you're not the most polished you want to be yet, but that's what these next couple fights are for, because even KSI, after the fight, you interviewed him, Jake Paul's name was not mentioned, right? He wasn't like, give me Jake next.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move. I don't think he's quite there yet.
And I think he knows that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, by the way, nothing wrong with that. Let's go back at 3 or 4 years when KSI beats Logan and Jake didn't want that fight.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Everyone has to have things.
You got to have that balance. So it's Jake.
Here's the worry. You got Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
You've got an insane amount of money that can be made by these two men.
Yeah.
The problem is,
do we get there?
do we even get that fight?
Yeah.
Because as we've seen with Conor Benn and Eubank Jr., they made a fight in a rush because they were like, one of us could lose.
Yeah.
All of this is not quite as special.
Yeah.
And with tricky fighters like Sol Papi and Slim and the winner of McBroom and Gabe, JJ has quite a few options that are going to be difficult. That could mean he may lose a decision or something.
Right.
Something can
Something
go
can
wrong.
happen, right.
Something can go wrong is the point. So they kind of need to make those steps.
No, I want to. Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
The
Go
point
ahead.
I'm making is they need to make those steps, but they need to make them carefully and quickly. They need maybe 1 or 2 fights more each that they win, and then make the fight in the summer of 2023, in my opinion.
My only argument against that, and I think you're kind of right. Sometimes I do, and I've been thinking this the whole time. I'm not really a boxing guy. Like, I enjoy watching it, and I developed a taste for it because of you. But I don't know. I've not grown up with it. The only difference I see with this is boxing people they think of belts, they think of routes to get to belts, they think of ways to get to places. This isn't quite the same thing. And I don't think you're wrong, but I think sometimes
it's more WE.
It's more WE. Yeah. So it's like if JJ loses, people almost want to see him have to reach even further to get to Jake.
So here's the problem for me.
And then Jake can play on that.
It's the mystique, right?
Yes,
now.
Okay, yeah.
Let's say JJ has an astounding performance against a Slim, finishes him.
Flatline, yeah.
But Slim, what if you win?
Jake Paul does the same to Anderson Silva, right?
Right.
That fight
just
becomes more compelling. It becomes bigger because then they're both looking so good and they're not. But the more weaknesses one shows, the less intrigue there is for this fight, which is why, given JJ's opponents last night, I am concerned as to who is selecting these, who is managing his way to a Jake Paul fight, because that is not something you can learn on the fly. No. And I know Mams is involved, but I don't know who. I'm sure
Shoe Fighters obviously are advising.
Are involved, and also the was it the brothers?
Sauerland, Wasserman.
This is a careful operation that they need to execute, because there is potentially $100 million, pounds, whatever, each.
You're talking about a fight that
minimum, right?
This could be the biggest payday.
2 million pay-per-views that it could easily.
A YouTuber has ever received, and Jake and JJ. That is why more than any. And I know it's money's money, but this is a different level of money than even they are used to.
And I can say, like, Jake could lose his next fight, and you could still make that fight. That's the one. Like, if KSI loses, I don't know.
You can't lose to Slim and make a Jake Paul fight. But
it's also, I think, to go along with that though, it's just that JJ has to win his last fight before he faces Jake.
I think they both have to. Yeah. But
and I think KSI needs multiple. I don't think we need one.
Maybe 2 more after this.
At least 2.
Do you mean legit convincing?
I mean, like YouTuber boxer next, right? And if he does away with whoever, we do got to step into the, I don't want to say the same arc Jake went into, but it needs to be that next
If
level.
you said to me, what's a dream scenario?
Right, Brian, what's a dream scenario?
Lawrence, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
Right? We've got Slim.
Yeah.
He beat Slim.
So we're putting it out there. It's Slim.
I think Slim, just because of what he brings to the table as a full package.
Slim, Sol Papi, whatever. Yeah.
I think Sol Papi, his hands are lethal, but I think Slim brings the sell, everything. He makes it entertaining.
Yeah.
Then a Tommy Fury, maybe.
Yeah, I can see that.
Wow.
If he beats Tommy, the intrigue of a Jake Paul is enormous. Then, so there's the roadmap for 3 fights and then Wembley.
Yeah. No, That's
and I know
layout.
JJ is already talking about January as his comeback.
Yeah, so that's 6 months. So I easily can get, the ring rust that he had, that's gone, or at least you would think somewhat gone. The next 6 months, go back and sharpen the tools.
Also, Logan said he would like the box on the card.
On the card, yeah.
In January.
Now that is
JJ.
interesting because who do you give him? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe the your boy over in Romania. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
we're good.
I don't.
I think the
I'd rather
interest
him
is
just
gone
be
by then.
still left in his little box.
I mean, Dylan Dennis is
I don't
always a
even-
go-to.
what we're calling Rumble.
Listen, I don't even think it's that. I mean, I just actually think the interest is gone.
You think it went?
That bubble's
Mate,
burst.
the 5 minutes of fame are over. No one cares.
Yeah.
So moving on, put him in his box. See you. Bye.
Can I actually say one thing? And I thought it was really smart, and it kind of worked, and we didn't quite work out why they don't do this more. Start the card with a big fight.
Yeah.
Finish the card with a big fight.
Yeah. So
because
start it with Logan, finish it with Jake.
It was
my
a
God,
full
yeah.
arena.
Absolutely.
From the very beginning.
Yeah.
That
We looked up. I didn't even know there was a third deck.
Okay, so
Right.
here's
And that's all
the
people.
idea. It could be McBroom versus Logan,
Jesus.
JJ versus
I love
Slim, or vice versa.
Right.
But the point is
Get them both.
if McBroom beat Gabe, obviously, which I'm rooting for Gabe, and I really believe Gabe will win that fight.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But just because McBroom is such an asshole to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He makes a good bad guy.
It's so tough to match.
I don't know if he
Logan
is an asshole. I've just been told that.
no,
No,
he
no,
comes
he-
across
Is he?
that way.
I don't know.
Comes
I
across
think
that
he'd make
way.
a good bad guy.
It's
he
tough
is-
because I don't know him personally, but everyone that
the
deals with
scamming.
him,
It's the
as a
scamming.
business
Yeah.
move, it just seems like everyone gets screwed over by it.
I kind of the thing is from the story I see on like the Ace Family thing, I want him to be a nice guy.
Seems like you'd
Yeah.
It's just like the one like
There's
you hear-
talent there. Ultimately, there's boxing talent.
Well, he's a natural athlete too, right? He's a
Yeah.
guy that, we talk about Logan and we talk about Jake being natural. He's the same one. He played college basketball. And I've seen some of his stuff. He wasn't a bad basketball player. He's pretty damn
Yeah,
good.
well, we know basketball players don't always make the best boxers.
That's true. But he has taken the time to actually do it. I still hold on to the fact that Nate didn't spar leading up to the Jake fight.
You know what Nate did do? He came forward and he was in shape.
Yeah. And it made it a little tougher than it should have been for Jake. Because he was like, I can't.
But the point is the highlight reel knockout came because
Because
he
he
was
ran into it,
engaging.
yeah.
And that's what these other two did not. They didn't have the balls, basically, to do what Nate Robinson did. So shout out Nate Robinson.
Shout out
really.
Nate, man. 2-time slam dunk champ.
That's the real thing. He doesn't have any other rings.
Is there any other fights that we should be talking about here?
I mean, we do have
Yes.
October coming up.
No, whoa, sorry. Neither of you actually mentioned Deji at any point in
my
this whole
Lord.
fucking podcast.
Okay, so
Get up,
Deji was performance of the night. For me.
Has to be.
For me, yeah.
Because of where he was
Yeah.
to where he is, right? Because everyone had told me, I talked to Leon, I talked to Vidal, I even talked to KSI. I'm like, what am I not seeing here? Like, why isn't in this last time? Because I see little bits, I see flashes, and they're like, bro, in the gym, he is doing this to guys. In the gym all the time. It's like, when we get that next kind of transition in the people in the main event, it just doesn't come out.
His mood.
It came out this time.
His mood was so different
All week.
All week when Fuzi was so intense, and you
Yeah.
you even said to me
Yeah.
when we were off cam, it was like maybe he's a little too intense. Like, is he
Yeah.
too riled up,
Yeah.
too emotional? Deji's like, okay, I'm just gonna throw hands.
And the difference was this time, Deji had heard in the Alex, build up everything everyone had said about him, and he was very cautious about saying something that was going to get him in trouble should he lose.
Mm-hmm.
This time, it didn't feel like that. It felt like Deji wasn't talking because he didn't feel like he had to, right? He was like, I know what I'm about to do. You know what I mean? That was the difference. Not, I don't want to talk because I'm scared of what's going to happen if I do. I just don't have
It's
to.
like failing your driving test like a few times or whatever for him.
Yeah.
It's like the nerves are gone now because he knows what it feels like.
Experience is
Yeah.
experience, whether it's good or bad. You've
Yeah.
been in there, you've seen it, you've seen the worst of the worst. It can't get worse, right? Unless you just get flatlined, but he'd seen it. And so this time, all he had to do was correct little things here, and he had the...
He managed the fight well. One thing I will say is when I watched a little bit of the highlights, I remember thinking, you're taking your little breathers with, and Vidal always told me about this early on. He was like, you got to breathe within the round sometimes and catch those little breaks to recharge. And he managed the fight. And Fuzi, for all he was super fit coming into it, you wouldn't have known it because he didn't manage the fight. And
it was the same thing. He walked right forward, which I thought he would. And I thought, honestly, it wasn't a terrible strategy, but he started chasing Deji around. He was just walking right into him and snaking back and forth. And what Deji did good and kind of similar was go back to the Vinny fight. He came out like a rocket, right?
Yeah.
Trying to take Vinny out. But this time he did it under control. Like you said, he caught his breath in moments. In the clinch, relax, shake the arms out, wait, then explode, right? It was 4-5, take some time off, 1-2.
Fuzi also, if I'm being brutally honest, I think very impressive shape coming in. I do give him credit.
Shredded.
And also his post-fight interview actually got me.
Yeah,
I thought,
man. Yeah.
mate, that's how you lose.
Yeah.
You took it like a man. You gave your credit. You said what this means to you.
Yeah.
It kept it moving. I really respect that. And that's why in the Pineda and Swarms fights, I was disappointed with that they didn't just do what they should be doing in there. As you signed up for this, So I credit him for that. But the one thing I will say is hand-eye coordination.
It's just not there for some guys.
Some people, you're just not going to be a boxer.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
It's just not there like naturally for some
Passive-aggressive, but
guys.
fine.
No offense, Lauren.
No, yeah.
Very passive-aggressive.
It's just not sometimes, though. No matter how much you work on it, you'll get, incrementally better.
Yeah.
But if your hands and your feet and your hips and your shoulders don't agree with you, it's just not going to get together.
It's like dancing. Like,
it really
some
is.
People just cannot dance.
It really is.
I mean, and me, I was blessed with hips.
I got caught trying to dance
rhythm.
last night, too. I was, Slim's walkout, you know what I mean? 1,000 miles. I was giving it the little shimmy, too.
I do like that.
Shout out to
You
Rob.
got caught on camera doing that.
Making my way downtown.
I did.
Mate,
Did.
by the
Yeah.
way, again,
Better than
Slim,
him.
I just think real boxers should
song.
be watching this and just being like, this is how you make yourself into a character, man.
Right.
100%.
They're so boring. I'll take anyone next to
Yeah,
I'll take
yeah.
off for me. Oh, man.
I know.
Call people out. Be a character.
Deji did, though. Deji said Bryce Hall next. What do you think
Bryce
about that?
Hall's a great fight.
It's got to be it.
Mate, it's great.
Put him in a main event.
Yeah.
Deji just became...
I think that might happen.
Deji just became the superstar people wanted him to be for so long.
Do you know what? And there's a
Just like that.
for me, I mean,
Undefeated.
I have a thing where I feel like I can, I get a read on people, I get a feel for people very quickly. And for years with Deji, I've been up and down. There's been times where I'm like, what a lovely guy.
Yeah.
And there's been times where he kind of becomes his own worst enemy, and I've been frustrated by that, and his attitude towards me and other people has just been a little bit off sometimes. But the other day, he was so in a kind headspace. I could feel like he was at peace with himself. He wasn't this character that he'd been in the past, which is rubbing people up the wrong way.
Yeah.
He was just full of kindness and just in the perfect headspace. And now I think like, okay, you're going to be the guy that you want to be as a man. And I'm not talking about boxing even. I'm talking about like, you have those moments, and I had it where my ego is getting in the way of who I can be because I'm too busy worrying about people's opinions of me. And I'm no doubt that Deji's probably gone through a bit of that when you've lost a few fights, people are talking shit. But he just seemed in a great place in his life.
Think about how young Deji is too, man. He's becoming a man right in front of everyone's eyes, just like KSI did, just like Logan, Jake, all those guys.
But he was even younger.
But he was younger,
Yeah.
and now he's becoming that age where people forget. I don't even know how old he is, but he can't be past 25, right?
He's wants to be about 25.
Yeah,
26,
so it's just now coming into that age where he is, developing all of these things that he's had around him and he's seen, and he's, like I said, he's becoming the person that he's comfortable with. And I think that's the biggest difference I saw. When I was sitting next to him at the presser, just interacting with him, he was just himself. He wasn't trying to put on something for me because I'm the YouTube boxing guy, and everything he says to me is like, oh.
He must have better people around him as well because, I mean, remember that when he lost that fight against the blonde kid?
I know.
The group of boxing guys he had around him.
Sorry, were they boxing guys? I thought they were.
It was a stag do.
Party house.
The traveling circus is what that was.
That was a mess.
But Daly, he gives a lot of credit to. And I think for a good reason. Deji will, I think, and I can probably speak to a little bit of this, he trusts very few, it seems like. And when he does trust you, though, like Daly, like Leon, like Calvin, all those guys that are now in his camp, it's like he wants not only to do it for them and for JJ, but now they've ingrained.
And he quoted that friend of his at the end where he was like,
Shane, yeah.
his mate who
Shout out
said,
Shane.
I'm sick of you losing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have those conversations. The fact that he's got someone in around him that would say that is good.
Did you see the moment where his parents came back into the dressing room?
I haven't seen that.
It's a sweet moment. It's worth watching.
Yeah,
it's nice.
yeah.
And you can see
the moment at the end where the brothers embrace.
Yeah.
I saw JJ in the locker room going crazy. Don't think he had any pants on, so I don't know if that was the right shot to get. But yeah, they was jumping up and down.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think he had his boxers, but no pants. But
impressive.
yeah, I was like, hey, nice shot.
But he looked. I mean, you could see how proud Leon was.
Yeah,
and
of course.
I'm so many people credit Leon with getting them into incredible shape. I'd love to know what Leon does with people because he works with
it's borderline abuse.
The guy absolutely beasts people.
The dude power lifts tree trunks, son.
And I get that, but do you know what I think about it is and it's kind of assume that when you get a personal trainer or someone like Leon, then you'll just do the stuff that that guy says, right? So many people get these guys, and Deji's had a few people who've gone, listen, we're going to work you hard, and they've let the guy get into terrible shape.
Yeah.
It takes the person to invest in Leon as well.
Yeah.
And also honesty, and I think that's what Leon brings to the table.
That's what Leon's got. Leon's got this energy, which is, he's quite a pure guy. Do you know what I mean? He's very straightforward.
No bullshit.
But also in such a positive way. I just really love to get into the room, and I kind of want to get in his head and see how he gets this out of people, because I think there's a real skill in that. Like, that's a really valuable skill, is to be able to motivate someone to a degree to end up even just looking like Deji. Because you remember what Deji looked like 2 fights ago, the body he had, all these kind of things.
Mate, that's fine. So much heavier.
And I get that, but that's fine for an everyday guy who's walking around, doesn't want to fight, right? I'm sure there are loads of people who, you know, they go to work and they look like that every day, right? That's fine. But not if you want to get in a ring and you want to be the opposite of that. So, I mean, credit to those guys for getting him even there, and credit to Leon for being able to motivate people who have money, who can just go, you know what, I give up, I don't really care. Let's just drop out. I'll say I've got an injury or whatever. He gets these guys to a very impressive point in their lives.
I agree. And then Daly too, with
absolutely
Deji's skill. I'd heard Daly talk this week about Deji trying to be more Canelo-ish, and I didn't know exactly what he meant until I watched. And it's a lot of like heavy lean on the front foot, heavy jutting the chin forward to draw out shots.
My favorite moment in the Deji fight, I was looking through the ropes. I wasn't even watching the montage.
No, I never can.
And I seen Deji being like, come on then. Come on then. And
just
I was
bring
like,
it.
Wow.
Just so he can.
Wow.
Just so he can. Pop.
Lean
How
back
about the lead hook? The timing to land a lead hook going backward for a check is so hard to do.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen Deji even come close to doing something like that. And then to land it, plant, boom, uppercut. He had everything working.
And for years, Vidal told us Deji may be the more talented
he had it.
Of the two brothers.
Yeah.
And we're seeing evidence of of how talented he is when he's fully fit.
That was one thing I was wondering while you were sitting talking about the fight, or the lead up to the fight of JJ versus Jake. Whether if Deji, being the more talented brother, maybe on the B side, but building himself up, has some sort of say in there, whether Jake sort of goes, Jake's got a bit of a sadistic side. I just wonder if he goes, I'll take Deji first and then we'll see what happens with KSI. God. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're, it's not an uncompelling matchup. Do you know what I mean?
Jake does the 2-on-1 night, Deji first. I think it's going to take a while for
Deji. You know,
the
Deji fight, there was, I was on the pre-show for a minute with Joe Weller. And I said, what about you getting back in the ring? And there was a mention of, if they do Wembley, KSI, Jake Paul.
Wow.
I would take a fight like that.
And I would like to see it, man. Yeah. Him or Bryce, I think it's a perfect matchup for Deji to stay within that build phase and see exactly where his skills are, but also not take that massive jump.
I think Deji cleans Bryce out in 2 rounds.
I would want to see it. You know what, man? I will say...
Joe's a tricky one because Joe's such a physical specimen, but last time he had no boxing experience, and the guy who was training him wasn't.
Bryce is gritty, I will say, and boxing skill, I understand it's nowhere near the level that we would want to see him at. I will say this though, Bryce is a former wrestler, he's a gritty guy, and I would want to see, like we do with all these guys, that level from first fight to second.
See, here's what I think about Bryce is I really like him as a character in this whole thing.
He's great at it.
Great shit talker, funny guy. Brings out the bad blood in the system, but I think he's one of those wrestlers who can wrestle.
It doesn't put together here,
but great grappler, just can't throw punches like a Ben Askren type. I could be wrong though.
We'll see.
Maybe he's he's training, and I don't know about. I think Joe has more natural talent than Bryce.
Either fight.
When I've seen Joe just doing little bits here and there in the past few years, I've been like, you should just if you want to do this again,
just go for it.
Get in a boxing camp. ASAP,
because
I think he has good potential,
and that fight sells. Like it out here, Joe Weller, Deji.
That's a you could
pay-per-view it, not even just main event. You could pay-per-view it.
But the event we're talking about starting the night.
There you go. Put those two on the start.
That feels. I'm not joking. It changed the night.
Yeah.
Because you remember in the early fights, there's still this people are still filtering in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all right. It's just this guy versus this guy. We're just there for KSI.
It was so packed. They started. They only opened the doors 30 minutes before the show was about to start. They had to delay the show 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's how many people were just flooding to try to get in.
And the O2 does this. The O2 does this week in, week out. So it's not like this is like something where it's like, oh, we don't know how many people are going to turn up here.
Maybe if they'd sorted the fucking tickets out properly, they wouldn't have had that issue.
Fair, bro, that was a real problem. I'd love to see the next fight in person.
One fight I want to cover before we end. Kind of the next event that they've.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Vitor Belfort versus Hasim Rahman Jr.
You know who's the
so strange
quote unquote co-main on that card?
Is that TGF
Your boy,
bro?
Jay Swingler.
Jay Swingler, yeah.
Coming back into the scene. And I think he might be a guy.
He's another one who I can imagine in that Deji, Joe Weller size.
Size and skill.
Yeah.
I've seen, he's been very coy, which is a good thing in this scene. You don't want to give too much up because guys see it and they're like, fuck that.
One thing we know
I'm
about
not
Jay,
doing that,
after that Gibb fight, is heart, determination.
Exactly.
Like, he ain't going to be...
But skill I'm seeing now.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some, there's a little bit of stuff, but I'm seeing some stuff from Jay. And I know, like you said, he's already a gritty dude. He's already down to go and scrap it out.
And he's slightly
and as well, right?
No, that's true.
But yeah, I think he would admit that. But I don't know the guy he's fighting yet. I just saw yesterday, and I was doing the production. I haven't really seen it.
I've never heard of this other guy.
The fact that he's back
is
a plus for the YouTube and the crossover boxing.
He's an amazing character anyway. But, what he does is insane.
But Rahman and Vitor, yeah. Let's talk about that.
This is for the real fight fans out there. Vitor Belfort, an old MMA. I don't want to say legend because I don't really.
Without the sauce, would he have been?
What he did to Michael Bisping, it'll never sit right with me.
Yeah,
this guy was juicing, Bisping wasn't, and it left Bisping with one eye. You know what I mean? Because he
messed up Rockhold the same way. Yeah. It's like there's a lot of guys that suffered from TRT Vitor.
Yeah, this is and no doubt we're going to get
TRT Vitor.
100%.
Absolutely.
But the problem is he's in there with a much bigger guy who's an actual boxer.
And I will give Vitor's credit. One of the youngest, at the time, I think the youngest UFC champion.
He's like 21.
And then John Jones was like, hold my beer, or hold my Viagra.
Yeah, he starched Wanderlei Silva in the early days of the UFC.
Yeah. There were some guys that...
He had the fastest hands, basically, that we'd ever seen in MMA.
Vitor was fighting when you could still wear shoes in the octagon.
Yeah.
Where he was punching and kicking.
In a pair of Clarks.
With shoes.
Incredible stuff.
But he's been around, He's been around.
Kicked him in the head. How's he said it?
It was wild times, man. But he's been around. I think he fought Tank Abbott, too, and messed him up.
He was a real specimen.
19, 20 years old, just messing dudes up.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Hasim Rahman, right? A guy that is a bridgerweight, 220 plus, 224-ish. This is going to be a tough deal for... And I know Vitor's a tough guy.
Do you think Rahman, though, he was talking about, I still want to be a world champion. I was like,
I think I don't know what Hasim wants to do, because I think he has gotten a taste of what we do over here in this influencer.
You mean money?
And yes, of course. But he's actually not bad at the internet side. He's actually...
His press conference with Jake was fantastic.
I'm saying.
I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying,
I think what
there's
he told,
two roads.
Right.
I guess he's trying to go let me get more famous.
I think he's wanting
to then cut across and jump the queue to get a belt of some sort.
That's what I think it is.
But the point is I don't think you will come once you take the red pill. I don't see you coming back.
Which, I mean, you could argue may not even be a bad choice for him, but it might not lead to the world titles, right? It might just lead to, like you said, the more money, the more notoriety, fame, whatever. But then at a certain point,
big dude.
Yeah,
I'm don't get me wrong. I watched that spar with Jake, and
Jake had his moments.
Jake did well.
He had his moments. But for a guy that had only been boxing for a year and a half, had his moments. But on the other side, Hasim's like, okay, that right hand, cool, nice. What else you got? Not really trying to punch you. Like, hold this jab. Like, oh, that's cute. Whatever.
I really wanted to see that fight in a way because they sold it so well.
I did too.
By that's one of the few times where who was the original fight he was supposed to be having?
It was Tommy.
Sorry, Tommy. Yeah, that was one of the few times where they changed the opponent. I'm like, actually, I'm more interested.
I got more invested.
Yeah, a lot of other people didn't feel the same way as me.
Nah, because the name and
but because of the skill,
the danger.
Yeah, yes. It went up. So I was like, okay.
And I don't know this for sure, so guys, don't quote me out there if I get this wrong. I know the comments would be like, wait, it was actually. I think this is going to be a short round fight. I think we're talking a 4-rounder here with Hasim Rahman and Vitor. So that's fireworks.
I know Rahman will be happy with that because
I think that's what he was saying.
He's not got the greatest gas.
He was like, "Oh, 4 rounds."
And Vitor's a sprinter, so.
And Vitor, coming off the historic victory versus Evander Holyfield, we all know.
Mate, that was the worst thing. Of all of the things that we've witnessed because of
might have been one of the worst.
This Holyfield
might have been one of the worst things.
OAP Holyfield. against TRT Belfort. No, it wasn't good.
It was terrible.
The guy couldn't even take a body shot.
No.
Not even one. I'm like,
he was having trouble standing, like without even.
bro,
being hit.
he looked
It
like
was just-
Ronnie Coleman in there.
Yeah, he's,
you know,
he's having trouble.
Like I'm like,
and
"Mate,
it
what are
sucks,
you
man,
doing
because
in there?"
that's Evander fucking Holyfield we're talking
Yeah,
about. You know what I mean?
One of the greatest, by the way. Like
And-
when people talk about Alexander Usyk now, what he's
Yeah.
done too,
That was
Holyfield.
exactly.
That's who they compare him
Exactly.
to. Like, is he at that level?
That's what I hate is the kids, the younger generation see that and they might not do the effort to go back and watch how good he was and be like, that's the guy, this old whatever.
What we were watching
Hate
in that
bro.
fight was an old man who took way too much punishment in his career and had no business.
Shout out the Florida Commission once again.
Yeah.
I think also though, like those guys, that they realize when people want to get in and get some money, right?
By the way, I had a little word with one of the commission guys.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Oh yeah.
I was like at the weigh in, I was like, this Swarms guy, yeah, started boxing 2 weeks ago. You sure about this? He was like, pass the medical. I'm like, cool.
Okay then. Yeah.
Yeah.
He proved he was alive.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
We're good to
I didn't realize it was going to be like this, you know.
Yeah.
But I think in future, I just hope that nothing bad happens where a guy who has
I know.
matter of days,
Yeah.
14 days, has been doing mainly Weight Watchers,
Yeah.
not pads and bag work.
Yeah, the
Right.
day before when he did the weigh-in, immediately went to Weight Watchers after, and they went, "Congratulations, my love, that's 3 pounds this week you've lost. So give him a round of applause,
Gold
Swarms.
star.
Yeah, gold star for Swarms. You're the biggest loser. Yeah,
No,
that's good.
I think, hopefully that doesn't happen because, and one, we have to obviously acknowledge the fact that Alex unfortunately had to be pulled out of the fight and things like that happen. It's the fight game, but the contingent, again, this is the first one. We learn from it. The contingency plan has to be, let's have a backup contracted ready for months.
But this is the thing. When Swarms was announced,
Yeah.
that's what
That
we
was
were told.
Yeah.
And
then
he's
he
always-
came out and
he's
said-
always been that,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
And he came out and said, I had 2 weeks to lose 11 kg and learn how to box.
he's a runner, he's a track star.
What about the my favorite guy in the whole thing of this was the Nazi that almost
Oh,
fought JJ
yeah,
at one point.
yeah.
Jeez, yeah.
That seemed like some sort of like weird little side mission that you get in GTA.
That was unfortunately that was another example of the teething issues of this
Yeah,
event.
yeah.
I think the fact that people hadn't done their research
Yeah.
and that someone had obviously thought he was.
He was a tough, this is a tough guy.
Yeah.
Again, the marketing of a pro boxer, and you just,
They missed the white power tattoo.
I was
Missed the
gonna say,
white
you
power,
gotta
and
get a-
there was like a swastika sort
You
of.
gotta
there was
get a
an
wide
SS.
shot.
Easy
Gotta get a
to
vertical.
miss those.
Yeah.
Easy
You know
to
when you're
miss
doing the
them.
medical and they go, I'm just going to put this stethoscope on your chest. Just above the white power, I'm just going to pop
Yeah.
that there. Yeah, okay. No, he is alive. Good,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like
Pass
that.
the medical.
Yeah, that's the medical. Yeah. That's the point. Yeah.
No, it was rough.
JJ to fight Hitler in the next fight. It'd be
Yeah.
fantastic. To be fair, I'd love to see JJ beating the shit out of Hitler. If we
Or any Nazi.
Need that.
I'm
Need
not
that.
discriminating.
I wouldn't
No.
discriminate. Unlike them, I wouldn't discriminate.
No, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Come on,
Go.
come on.
Yeah, exactly. So to speak.
I think we've chopped this up nicely.
Yeah,
boys.
yeah.
It's been a good one.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Wade. Appreciate you,
my
man.
pleasure.
I love
My
you.
pleasure.
Fantastic.
Don't forget, if you want to check out the Wade concept and all of the good stuff he is doing, I will put the link for his channel in the description below. And I look forward to doing more work, hopefully with Misfit Boxing.
Yeah.
If they can sort my mates' tickets out and tell me not to get in my pants at 6 o'clock.
I mean,
Yeah.
the main piece of feedback I would say is it did look like you were a few presenters short. So maybe if you just want to,
give him a
do you know
word.
what I mean?
Wade
Yeah.
next to me.
Yeah.
Put Loz in the locker room
yeah.
with the lads in their pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You love that.
I mean, as much as you did, sure.
That was the Wade Concept on True Geordie Podcast.